welcome back to another video. Today in this video we are going to test the Spearfarben pencils and the COLOR 240 set of pencils in the Amazon printed books. I have already done 2 videos like this, actually I think 3 videos like this. In the previous videos I tested the COLOR 180 red box of colored pencils, the Crayolas, the Brutfuner Square, the Arteza pencils, the Black Widows, the Castle Arts, and the Mark Arts. And I believe I also did a video where I tested a couple of the pastel sets, the Castle Art pastel tints, as well as the Brutfuner Macaron colored pencils. If you haven't already seen those videos, I will link those in the upper right hand corner. I plan to test these 2 pencils, see which ones perform the best, and then out of my favorites, a lot of you had suggested that I do one final video where I put those favorite budget-friendly colored pencils up against one another to see which performs the absolute best in the Amazon printed books. I wanted to go ahead and grab my Fall Friends coloring book, and this is the coloring book that I have also used in the previous videos. It's one of my favorites and I thought it was fitting for this time of year. I'm trying to keep all of my videos right now for the month of October fall themed or autumn themed or even Halloween themed so that I could bring you all some fun tutorials. I just did one on how to color a glowing pumpkin. I did another one on how to color autumn leaves, which you should have already seen. And I also did one with a bunch of fall themed or Halloween themed color combinations. I will try to link some of those in the description box below if you have not yet seen them. I will also have listed down there everything that you've seen me use in this video, as well as links to my Etsy shop, my Facebook group, and my Patreon if you would like to support me there. I also now have channel membership. You can find more information out about that by clicking the join button down below. Okay, so this is Fall Friends by Deborah Muller, one of my favorite coloring books, and I've chosen a page in here. I would like to go ahead and keep this video fall themed, so that's why I'm using this coloring book. I've also used this coloring book throughout all of my other videos that I've done where I've tested any of the budget pencils in the Amazon printed books. So since I want to keep it fall themed, we're going to go to this page here. I've got quite a few pumpkins down here. Here I've got these that are rather close to one another so that I can color part of one of these or maybe color the small one down here and then color the one here to the back. And then we can compare the 2 different pumpkins right up against one another after we test out both of these pencil sets. So I'm going to start with the Spearfarben pencils, and I've already chosen some colors. I do only have 3 colors here to start with. I'm using bronze, orange, and vanilla flower. I feel like the vanilla flower is going to give it a really nice pop of color. So as with all of these videos, we are just testing the amount of layers we're able to get down, the blendability of the pencils, how nicely they go down on the paper. I'm not going to go out of my way to do anything fancy or try to be extra artistic. I'm just going to lay my 3 different colors down, and I'm going to talk about how the pencils are laying down as I color and just share some of my thoughts. So I'm laying down the first color here on this smaller pumpkin, and these are going down nicely so far. They seem pretty smooth, but the real question is going to be when we go to try to blend some of these colors together and see how nicely the colors come together. Then now that's our first layer, and I'm going to come back with my mid-tone and I'm going to start adding some of this color in here. We're going to see how it blends right into these other colors. So it is laying down nicely. You could see that it is blending into our lightest color here. And this is going to act as our second layer. It is blending really, really nicely so far. Now, if you saw some of my previous videos, there were some pencils that I thought initially blended really nicely in the first couple of layers that I laid down. But then as I continued to lay the color down, that changed. And then some of them I initially didn't care for when they were first laying down, but then when I got some of that color down there, they performed much better as the color started to move around. Now I have my darkest color, and this one again is bronze, and you can see that it's laying down very nicely over this other color. I think I chose some pretty colors here. I did just pick these out and decide, okay, these are what I'm going to go with because I could not find my swatch chart for my Spear Farbens. I know that I have one somewhere, but I checked my binder and I cannot find my swatch chart. So I'm just going to have to recreate one and possibly put them into color family order. I'm going to try to create a little bit of depth and dimension here with these, just so we can see if we could actually do a little bit of the same thing here that I would generally do with another pencil that is more of an artist grade pencil, because we all know I can lay Prismacolors down here in this book or even polychromos, and they are just going to layer effortlessly and blend together effortlessly. But some of the budget sets, it's going to be a little bit different with those. Okay, so I think that was my third layer. Now I'm going to go back to my mid-tone and we're going to come in here with a fourth layer and see if the color starts to move around just a little bit and how they continue to blend. But so far so good. They are pretty smooth and they are going down on the paper very nice. And the colors are blending together. But if y'all have seen my tutorials and watched my videos, you know I'm one of those colorists that really likes that color to just immediately lay down on the page. And so far I feel like the Brute Fooner squares and the Castle Arts, they initially lay down a lot of color, much more than these do. And if you've not seen those videos, you can go back and see, because you could totally tell when you watch me use the pencils how they perform. So now I'm going to come back and lay a little bit more of my highlight color. This was the Vanilla Flower. And these are blending together okay on this paper. It's definitely not completely effortless. So I'm just pulling the color from the darkest colors right back into where I initially laid this lighter color. Now I also did a video where I shared a hack showing you all how to get your budget friendly pencils to perform like your artist grade pencils. And if you've not seen that video, I'll make sure that one is linked, because you can get any one of these pencils to blend effortlessly just by using that little hack that I showed you in that video. So I'm coming back again with my darkest color, and I hope that y'all are counting the layers that I'm laying down here, because I've already lost count. But now that I've gotten more color down on the paper and I'm coming back with this darkest color, they seem to be performing a little bit better now. And that seems to be the case with a lot of these budget sets, because once you get some of the color down on the paper, the color does start to move around a lot more than it did initially. So I turned my book so I could come back over here and get over here on this side much easier. But hopefully you can see this now that I have the color down on the paper. It's definitely moving around a lot more. So just like most other sets, once you get that color down on the paper, you're going to find that the color does move around and it's much more blendable. And the paper is still taking layers, and I must be on about at least 6 layers by now of color. And I wonder if I grab a much darker color and come back and try to add something like a brown or something for a little bit more depth and dimension, if it will still take that color. But now I'm just going over all of the areas with my lightest color and really trying to blend that color out, and they're blending pretty nicely. And I do have a bit of white of the paper left, but let's see if we can get a little bit of a darker color to really add a little bit more depth and dimension. It does have a bit of depth and dimension at this point, but let's see if we can improve upon that. So I'm just going to have to test out a couple colors here since I can't find my swatch chart. Okay, so I grabbed a brown. Actually, it's called brown. So we're gonna see if I could add a bit more depth and dimension here and go right over these other colors, and it still takes the color, and look at that, it is still laying down. Okay, so I added quite a bit more depth in there with that color. And when I'm coloring pumpkins, I like to go over these lines and really make them stand out. And after I use this brown, I do want to come back and add a little bit of my darkest color if the paper will allow me to do so. And see, I said I wasn't going to try to be extra artistic, and here I am trying to add extra depth and dimension. But I do really want to test these pencils out and see how they perform. But I've gotten quite a few layers down here, and this paper is really taking it. So now I'm just going to go back over where I laid the bronze and blend those colors out. Now that I have a lot of layers down on this paper, they're performing much better, and the color is really blending out and looks really pretty. And you can see here that the color is really spreading out. I'm going to move my hand out of the way and go over this so y'all can see the color just laying down on there. And I must have 8, 9, I might even have 10 layers down here. Now let me come back and just add a little bit more of my highlight. And look, that color is just really blending out now. Okay, so these did work really nicely on this paper. I would say not as nicely as my two favorites, which were the Brutfuner and the Castle Arts, but they do work nicely on this paper. And the only thing I will say, I'm not sure if you could see this on camera. Let me see if I could blend it out just a little bit more before I even say that. Yeah, so right here in this area, it looks a little bit scratchy to where it didn't get a really good blend right here where I laid that darkest color and then went back over it a couple times. And then right over here on the edge, I'm seeing the same thing. But in all of the rest of the pumpkin, it looks like the colors blended together really, really nicely. Maybe I added a little bit more here in this area, so that may be where there is just one extra added layer right there, and then I don't have those extra layers here because over here I did add that darkest color, whereas in here I did not. I just have my much lighter color here and here, so it looks much nicer over here. So maybe if I just didn't add that one extra layer, it's probably definitely the paper and not the pencils. But if you want to see me test out these pencils in any other coloring books, please let me know in the comments below, and I would be glad to do so. Okay, so now we're going to try the COLOR pencils, the 240 set in the Amazon book, but I need to pick some colors, and I want my colors to be a little bit similar to what I've already used in this set. So I'm just going to swatch these out, and then I'm going to try to grab some colors that are pretty much the same as these. And here is the last one. Look how pretty those colors are. So let's see if we can match these up just a little bit with some of the colors from this set. Let me go ahead and grab this one and see how well it matches up. It's a little bit different, but it's pretty. Try this one. It looks like that color is a little bit closer to this one. So maybe I'll just go with that. And then we need to find one that matches up to this one here. That one is pretty close. That one is a lot closer too. It's just not as bright. Maybe we'll go ahead and grab that one as well. And I need something that is just a little bit darker than that one. I don't think that one's going to work. I think this color is probably closer to some of these up here. That is a pretty color for a pumpkin. Oh, there are so many shades of orange and reds and yellows in this set. I'm gonna pull these out and we're gonna see if there's any more shades of orange and yellow under here. There's so many colors in this set. If you have not already seen the review of this, I'll make sure that that review is linked in the upper right hand corner so you could check that out. Oh, and here is maybe what we need. And that one is spot on. Okay, so I've chosen quite a few colors here, and I'm gonna go ahead and swatch these out and see what colors would be great for a pumpkin. Let me just put them in some sort of color family order here. It looks like a couple of these, even though the barrels look different, they look very close. It's a pretty yellow. I don't know about that one. It has a lot of red in it. So maybe we'll go with this one and that one. Okay, so we'll try these for the other pumpkin. So how about we work on this one up here so that we can compare them and see what they look like, and they'll be right next to each other. We'll have this one sitting right behind that one, so we'll have to put a little bit of extra shading all in this area here. So we'll really be able to test these out and see how they perform. This color is called Cream Yellow, and I'm just gonna lay the colors exactly the same as I did on the other pumpkin with the Spearfarben pencils. And again, I'm gonna go in the same order from lightest to darkest. And the color is going down nicely so far. And the two colors I have down so far are blending together fairly well. Now I have my next color. This one is called Bright Orange. And look how the colors are just layering right over one another. I want to put a little bit more color down in here because I would assume this pumpkin laying behind the other one, there would be some darker shading right in that area. And I want to leave a pop of color right in this area here. Oh goodness, so I thought my camera was on and it had turned off on me. So I did come in and color these parts of the pumpkin here because somebody had turned on their lawnmower, so I had to stop filming for a little bit. But I did come in and add a third layer with this color here, which these are my two darker colors now. I've already used all of these three, so I've got these two colors left. So this one is a reddish brown, and so I did add some of this here. I like pencils that when they touch the paper, the color instantly goes down. These are doing that for me. Now back in here I did add a lot more color, and over here I added a lot more color because I've got this pumpkin laying behind this pumpkin here and this pumpkin here. So I'm using quite a bit of my darker colors just to shade a little bit more, since I would assume there's more shadows over in those areas. But as I lay the color down, the colors are much more movable, but these pencils already seem to be performing much better than the Spearfarben did. I don't know if you can tell by looking at both of these or watching me lay the color down how differently the color is laying down, but there's definitely a huge difference, and I probably have about 4 layers down here so far, and in those 4 layers I've been able to get a whole lot more color down than I was able to when I used the Spearfarben pencils. And the other thing about these pencils is we get 240 colors. So you're getting a whole lot of color choices. And in the Spearfarben set, I believe there are 96 colors in that set. Okay, so I think I'm going to start coming back with some of my brighter colors and start laying some of this color down and blending some of these out. But these are blending beautifully. And I'm going to try to stay out of some of these other areas where I want more drastic highlights. I'm going to see if I could really make that highlight pop. But I will say that when you are using pencils that perform much better, you are going to see a huge difference in the art you're able to create. Even in your coloring books, you're going to see a huge difference in your coloring pages if you're using pencils that perform much better, where the color lays right down, blends together with ease, and you're able to have a bigger difference in the colors to where you could see that pop of highlight and see your shadows. Let me go ahead and come back with this cream yellow and add some more of this right in here because I don't want to lose out on those highlighted areas that I really wanted to keep. But it has taken less layers or less work to color in this pumpkin than it did on my pumpkin here that I used the Spearfarben, and the colors are laying down much nicer, and I can also see much more of a pop with these. I don't know if it's the colors. I tried to match up the colors the best that I possibly could, but you could see even with these pencils, when I lay this color over some of the darker areas, the color is just laying right down there, and you could actually see the color. Okay, so now I have the bright orange, and we're gonna see if we can layer a little bit more of this just to add a little bit more depth here. And then where I had some of the brown, I'm gonna try to brighten that up but still keep it a little bit darker. I definitely feel like with these pencils I'm able to be quite a bit more artistic, and the colors are applying much more the way that I want them to, and they're working really well on this paper. Now I have my next darkest color, and I'm going to see what I could do here with this and just darken some of this up, add a little bit more shading here, but the color still seems to be laying down and it's blending really nicely. I do still see a lot of the white of the paper though, and so I'm going to take the brown and let's see if we can get a little bit more color down here with the brown, and we'll just add a few more shadows in here. These pencils, I have noticed also, I've been blowing away some of the crumbs, but they are a more crumbly pencil than the Spearfarben were. I don't really mind that because I'm used to my Prismacolors and they crumble quite a bit too, and the pigment spreads outside. And I just always make sure that I have a brush or something here so that I could go right back over it and just take it out of the way. This is what I usually use here, but it just gets rid of all of the dust. And looking at this, it still looks like I have a bit of white of the paper here. So I'm going to grab this color. This is my lightest color, or my highlight color. And I'm just going to blend some of this out just a little bit more. But I think I really like those much better than the Spirfarben. The Spirfarben did a really good job, but it took a little bit more effort to get those down onto this paper than it did with the COLOR 240. And I feel like I was covering a bigger space. And I was able to get that color down there a lot quicker than I was with this. And initially these were not blending as well. And I feel like these blended pretty much effortlessly from the very beginning. And I just need to find a shade of green just to color in that little leaf because I can't leave it undone. Okay, so I grabbed a couple greens here and we just need to color in this little leaf here. I just assumed that these two greens would work nicely together. I just grabbed them. So both of the pumpkins are done. This one was done with the Spirfarben, this one with the COLOR 240. And if I'm looking at them both right up against one another, they both look pretty much the same. The colors look almost identical. I think I did a pretty good job choosing the colors to be able to match them up. So the whole purpose of these videos is that if you're a beginner and you want to just purchase a set of budget-friendly pencils because you're not ready for the expense yet of buying a set of Prismacolors or buying a set of Polychromos, and you just want to be able to purchase a nice set of budget pencils and one of the Amazon coloring books and work on a page, you can totally do that. And I know there's a lot of us also that are collectors and we like to have all of the pencils. I am very familiar with that, apparently. But we all want to know which pencils work best on which paper. And a lot of the books on Amazon are printed on the Amazon paper. And that is one of the best ways that we could support all of these artists that bring us these coloring books so that they can continue to create their art and bring us these coloring books. So I feel like it's really important to know which pencils perform best in the Amazon printed books. My next video, I would like to take my 2 absolute favorites or 3 absolute favorites from the 3 videos that I did and see which ones perform the absolute best so we could really narrow it down. So stay tuned for that video because that will be coming soon. Everything you've seen in this video will be linked in the description box below. If you enjoyed this video, please do give it a thumbs up. I hope you have a wonderful day and I will see you in the next one. Happy coloring. Bye.